In the Sápmi region, the sky knows no concept of day or night. Fine snow is swept up at the speed of a hurricane, whipping against exposed skin like thousands of stinging needles. The temperature plummets to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. In this lethal cold, traditional European architecture fails utterly. The question is not just how to build a house, but how to engineer survival when the only materials available are crooked birch branches and blocks of frozen earth as hard as stone. The Sami answered that question with the Goahti. It is not a hut. It is a sophisticated elliptic paraboloid structure where wood and earth merge to defeat death. A thermal machine designed to hide within the landscape, using the very pressure of nature to create strength. The battle for survival in Sápmi begins with a silent hunt through low, twisted birch forests. In the Arctic, straight timber is a luxury, a waste material to Western engineering that worships squareness. But to the Sami, that crookedness is a treasure. They do not attempt to straighten nature. They exploit the error of the trees to create absolute technical correctness. The skeleton of the Goahti, called the birch, is the crystallization of thousands of years of observing the flow of pressure. It is not a random collection of sticks, but a physical machine refined to neutralize the most brutal attacks of nature. The construction of the birch starts with an instinct for identifying materials on site. Sami builders carry no rulers or blueprints. They carry eyes trained to find exactly 4 birch trunks with identical natural curves. These are not ordinary trees. They are entities that have spent decades training their resilience, bending themselves to the wind, and accumulating tension within their dense wood grain. Using pre-curved trees instead of manual heat bending is a stroke of material engineering genius. When wood is forced to bend by machinery, the outer fibers are overstretched while the inner ones are compressed, creating latent fracture points. But with the birch, the curve is part of the biological structure. Every ounce of pressure was fossilized into the wood since it was a sapling. The Sami do not create the curve, they borrow the strength already compressed by nature. When 2 pairs of birch poles are raised and tightly linked at the apex by a load-bearing crossbeam, a strange architectural form emerges, the elliptic paraboloid. This is the pinnacle of load-bearing geometry, which modern studies by Macken had to use complex mathematics to decode. While Western architecture often relies on vertical walls to support a roof, creating fatal weaknesses at the joints, the Sami chose curves to eliminate all vulnerabilities. Imagine 10 tons of pristine but heavy snow weighing down on the dome. In a typical house, this weight would seek out flat surfaces to apply pressure and rigid joints to snap the structure. But in a Goahti, the compression has no place to accumulate. The elliptic curve of the birch acts as a smooth conduit for force. The weight of the snow is lured along the wooden surface, flowing evenly from the apex down to the rocky ground without causing any concentrated stress. Here, a survival paradox appears. The heavier the snow, the more the compression grips the birch poles to the ground, making the entire house more stable and earthbound. Snow is no longer the enemy. It becomes a reinforcing force, turning a slender wooden structure into an impregnable fortress. The true strength of the birch skeleton lies in what it does not have. Absolutely no iron nails, no rigid wooden dowels, no drill holes that weaken the grain. Metal is a traitor in the Arctic cold. It conducts heat poorly, shrinks suddenly at -40 degrees Fahrenheit and shatters like glass under wind pressure. An iron nail is simply a crack waiting to destroy the house from within. The Sami use the wood-on-wood principle. Rafters are rested against the main frame and secured with flexible bindings made of animal sinew or tightly braided bark. This technique allows the house to possess a quality called dynamic stability. When a gale-force storm sweeps through, the Goahti does not stand still to take the blow. It bends slightly with the pulse of the wind, the bindings expanding and contracting to neutralize the storm's energy instead of snapping under pressure. The result is a frame so light it is hard to believe, weighing only a few hundred pounds, yet strong enough to carry an entire hillside of turf above it. It is the victory of indigenous wisdom, using flexibility to master rigidity, using the curves of nature to neutralize the power of death. The bilge frame is not just the skeleton of a house, it is a poem of adaptation, where wood and compression merge to shield life. Once the bilge skeleton stands amidst the Sápmi landscape, the journey of creating the protective shell truly begins. This is a sequence requiring extreme meticulousness to transform bare wood into an entity capable of sealing in heat. In the Sámi world, the shell is not just a roof, it is a system of filtration and energy storage, where each layer of material carries a distinct survival mission. The first coat, pressed against the flesh of the wooden frame, is birch bark. Sámi builders layer them skillfully, mimicking the scale structure of deep-sea creatures. This choice is a sophisticated understanding of material properties. Birch bark contains a natural oil resin that is waterproof and durable enough to last for centuries in the ground without rotting. This scale layer creates an absolute barrier, causing rain or warmth from melting snow to simply slide away without ever touching the wooden heart inside. This dryness keeps the bilge frame at its original elasticity, blocking all fungal intrusion. More importantly, birch bark is a one-way filter. It keeps water out, but allows the structure to breathe, preventing the buildup of toxic moisture inside the home. To truly defeat the -40 degrees Fahrenheit cold, the Goahti needs a massive thermal battery, and that is when the turf blocks appear. These are dense slabs of sod, interwoven with a network of tangled roots, meticulously cut from the tundra and piled onto the structure until they reach a staggering thickness of 3 to 5 feet at the base. This earthen wall acts as a superior thermal mass. Throughout the day, it silently absorbs every bit of heat from the Aran fire at the center, storing energy deep within the compressed root layer. When night falls and the outside temperature drops to lethal levels, this battery begins to radiate heat slowly and steadily back into the living space. It completely eliminates thermal bridges, those deadly gaps often found in modern wooden houses. In a Goahti, heat has no escape. It is imprisoned within a solid mass of earth and roots. The massive weight of the sod layer, which might seem like a burden, is actually the source of absolute stability. It creates constant pressure, pinning the bilge skeleton to the ancient rock foundation. The resonance between the weight of the earth and the flexibility of the wood creates a dynamically stable structure that stands firm against storms that could blow away any modern building. But the true beauty of Sámi engineering lies in its relationship with snow. When snow falls heavily and covers the mound, it does not collapse the roof, but becomes the final overcoat, completing the insulation system. The heart of the Goahti does not lie in the shell or the skeleton, but in the Aran, the fire pit placed at the precise geometric center of the house. On compressed earth, the Aran operates as the engine of a sophisticated thermodynamic system, coordinating the flow of life amidst the icy void. The placement of the fire at the center is not random. Radiant heat from the Aran spreads evenly in all directions, hitting the curved walls and bouncing back into the living area. This system operates based on pressure differentials and the geometry of the elliptic dome, utilizing a cold trap. The entrance to the house is built as a long, low, and narrow corridor. Outside cold air, being heavier, spills into the floor but is blocked by this trap structure before being pulled into the fire pit to be heated. Here, the air is warmed and rises. But instead of flying straight to the peak and escaping wastefully, as in conical tents, like lavu, this hot air meets the smooth, curved elliptic dome. According to the laws of airflow, the hot air clings to the ceiling, curling back down along the walls to directly warm the sleeping area, loaidu. Smoke and exhaust are let out through the Reindeer hole at the peak, creating a natural chimney effect that ensures the air is always oxygen-rich without losing warmth. The narrow interior of the Goahti is a supreme technical intent. It optimizes the volume of air needing to be heated. In a sealed space perfectly insulated by earth, every human and even the sled dogs become thermodynamic entities, radiating about 100 watts of heat per hour. When the whole family gathers, the collective body heat resonates with the fire to create a warm microclimate despite the blizzard. The Sami also break the laws of conduction by establishing sleeping platforms raised 1 foot above the floor. These platforms are lined with fresh birch branches and thick reindeer fur, materials that trap static air exceptionally well. This elevation places humans in the warm thermal zone above, completely separated from the cold air layer near the floor. The narrowness of the Goahti is precisely the key to utilizing body heat. In this enclosed space, every person and dog is a natural heat source. This total heat, resonating with the fire and the insulated earthen walls, creates a stable microclimate at 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, while it is minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit outside. It is where humans do not conquer nature, but turn its laws into a resilient survival cocoon, where warmth, earth, and fire merge to maintain the heartbeat of an entire community. In the brutal cold of Sápmi, survival is not just about building a wall to block the wind, it is a strict management of resources down to every unit of heat. Every element arising during life must be repurposed for long-term existence. Here, the boundary between waste and life source is so thin that they become one. Inside the Goahti, smoke from the fire is never seen as an eye-stinging nuisance. Instead of letting thermal energy and smoke dissipate uselessly, the Sámi lead them through the birchwood rafters, where the tribe's most precious food sources are stored. Red strips of fresh reindeer meat and fish just pulled from frozen lakes are hung high on wooden racks. They sit right in the path of the warm air, carrying smoke particles from the birchwood smoldering below. This pale gray smoke acts as a sophisticated natural preservative. Phenolic compounds and organic acids in the smoke penetrate deep into the meat fibers, creating a chemical protective film that absolutely prevents the growth of mold and bacteria. This is an intellectually profound technical swap. The ventilation problem, so difficult in sealed structures, has been transformed into a superior food preservation system. When the smoke escapes through the Reindeer hole at the apex, it has fully completed its mission, warming human flesh, drying food, and reinforcing energy reserves for the Arctic months shrouded in eternal night. The expansion of survival architecture does not stop at thick sod walls. It continues right onto human skin. Reindeer skin clothing is the mobile curtain wall, an inseparable technical component of the Goahti ecosystem. Nature has equipped the reindeer with a unique hollow hair structure where each hair acts as a trap for tiny air pockets. This trapped air layer creates a perfect insulation barrier, preventing the loss of body heat to the environment. When people sit around the Aran fire, the fur clothing combined with the elliptic dome creates a double protective cocoon. Warmth from the flame heats the space, and the hollow fur holds that warmth tight against the skin surface. It is a physical synergy between construction materials and clothing, turning each individual into an independent thermodynamic entity that can stand firm even when away from the fire to face the blizzard outside. The ultimate flexibility of the Goahti also lies in the philosophy of vanishing. This house was not built to challenge time like rigid stone towers. It was designed based on the biological rhythm of the reindeer and the tribe's migration cycles. When the pastures are exhausted, the Sámi leave, giving their earthen fortress back to nature's care. There is no industrial waste, no permanent scars on the ground. The house silently dissolves into the vast steppe. The turf layer merges back with the earth. The grass continues to grow over the old dome, hiding the human presence under the shroud of the forest. But the most miraculous thing often happens when people return after decades. Amidst the moss, the old foundation and the curved birch timbers still lie there, resilient and silent. They do not rot thanks to the protection of the bark and natural oils. The Goahti proves that the most sustainable architecture is not that which exists eternally against time, but that which knows how to leave when no longer needed and return when life is reborn. A mound of earth, green in summer and white in winter, sheltering the Aran fire that burns through generations. That is the greatest legacy of Arctic survival engineering.